What is up, everybody? This is Adam. Welcome back to Fouled Out. This is episode 2 of our coverage leading up to the 2026 NFL Draft, and possibly the most important draft episode that we are going to do this year because it is the 2026 My Guys Pod. Matt and I will both pick 3 guys to go over in depth and then give you guys a couple quick hitters and honorable mentions at the end. I say this every year, but this is a pod that Matt and I put a lot of effort into, and we are really, really good at it. We will start the pod by going over the All My Guys team, updated for the guys we picked last season, because we have 5 more dudes to add who are awesome as rookies. So you don't want to miss this episode, because this is literally going to tell you who is going to be a good rookie this season. I mean, not to be too conceited, but the results speak for themselves. But before we get started, just a reminder, you can reach out to us, fouledoutsports@gmail.com. Hit us up if you want to talk, anything except for baseball. I can't talk baseball until John Henry sells the Red Sox, because ownership and management have taken what is one of the best and richest franchises in all of baseball and run it straight into the ground. Every single fear that I talked about from the offseason has immediately come to fruition, and this team fucking sucks. So congrats to John Henry and Craig Breslow for ruining the Red Sox. That said, check us out on YouTube. Give us a like and subscribe over there to help us grow that channel. And however you guys are supporting us, I really appreciate it. Really do hit me up if you guys want to talk about the World Cup or hockey or basketball or any of those great things. Just please, obviously baseball is a very sore subject for me at this moment, so no Red Sox talk. But for now, let's grab Matt. Let's talk My Guys. Let's go. All right, Matt is here, ready for NFL Draft Podcast number 2, the My Guys Pod. Matt, how you doing, buddy?
I'm excited. We've been waiting for this.
I was bragging about us in the opening, and I talk about this every year. My Guys is a very, very popular concept in NFL draft discourse. So Reddit, like numerous YouTube videos, pretty much every draft podcast, like anybody that talks NFL draft does some kind of My Guys list or like who are my favorite prospects, stuff like that. So why should you pay attention to us when we talk about it? Well, I'm just going to point you all to the results of the My Guys podcast. This is our 6th annual My Guys, 6th year of the pod, and we have like quite the list of picks from our first 5 years. So I'm gonna go over the updated All My Guys team. We can make an all like guys team with multiple first and second teams with some of the picks. So quarterbacks, Caleb Williams and Jordan Love. Running backs, Bucky Irving and Super Bowl MVP Kenneth Walker. Wide receivers, Jackson Smith and Jigba. George Pickens, Nico Collins, Emeka Egbuka. Tight ends, Trey McBride, Dalton Kincaid, and Harold Fannin Jr. Offensive linemen, Gray Zabel and Joshua Simmons, both from last season. D linemen, Braden Fisk and Greg Rousseau from the Bills. Edges, Jared Verse and Tui Tuipulotu. Linebackers, Jack Campbell, JOK, and Devin Lloyd. Defensive backs, Nick Eamon-Wari, Brian Branch, Cooper DeJean, Devin Witherspoon, Quinyon Mitchell, Tariq Woolen, Jalen Petrie.
So I will throw one caveat on there. It is starting to sound like JOK is a really bright flash in the pan, but we don't know if he's ever going to play again. So
yeah, that's fair, but we'll replace him this year because I have a linebacker in this class that I love. You might notice 5 of those guys were added from last year's pod. Yeah. So we had Emeka Egbuka, Harold Fannin Jr., Gray Zabel, Joshua Simmons, and Nick Eamon-Wari, all on last year's pod, all dudes who had massive impacts as rookies.
Yeah.
So that's my pitch to listen to this pod, is that was 5 out of 12 dudes we named last season who had immediate impacts in the NFL. We've had that every single year on this podcast. We've picked dudes who not only turn into good players, but we've also picked dudes who are immediately impactful on this pod. And I know like people will be like, oh, Caleb Williams, that's cheap. But
look at our defensive backfield. If you put that defensive backfield on a real team, one, you can't pay any other players, and two, it's not going to matter because no one's going to be able to throw the ball against them.
Well, it's on a real
Eamon
team,
Worry,
Matt. Eamon Worry, Witherspoon, and Tariq Woolen.
Woolen.
Witherspoon, Eamon Worry, Tariq Woolen just literally won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Kenneth Walker's on there too. Seattle's and Gray Zabel.
Yeah,
Seattle's just like the My Guys team.
You're missing Branch.
I know. I'm just saying though.
Yeah,
Like in the year before that, the team that won the Super Bowl had Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying.
Quinyon Mitchell. Jeez.
JSN just became the highest paid receiver in the history of football. Like Trey McBride's the best tight end in football. There are bangers. And
I am still very much convinced that JSN contract was a direct ploy used against the Rams before Puka decided to again sabotage himself.
Puka said, "Hold my beer." But yeah, great picks, and our picks have ranged from like the 1-1 all the way to like late, like day 3 guys like Bucky Irving, who was also immediately impactful as a rookie. So we've hit up and down the draft board, and I'm super excited to get into the dudes we like for this draft. I will say, not making any excuses because I think we got some really good picks, but I think it was more difficult this year to pick out the My Guys. Like there's really not. I loved last year's draft where I had like a bunch of dudes I didn't even put on the list because I had to narrow it down to 6 dudes. This year, I'm not as stoked on the draft.
I didn't have a hard time finding guys. In fact, if we went bigger, I definitely could have. However, yeah, we talked about this via text. The main value of this draft is starters, not stars. And look, the majority of any winning NFL roster is made up of more starters than stars. This still is a very valuable draft for teams because filling holes is kind of step 1 to becoming a contender. But yeah, certainly there is less shine on some of these prospects. But from my perspective too, each year we really only cumulatively only grab like 1 or 2, maybe 3 of like the high profile guys. The rest of them are, not going in the top 10.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything you said. I feel like this is a good draft for the good teams and a not so great draft for the bad teams. Because like you said, like there are a lot of starters in this draft. There's not a lot of stars to really like build your team around. And a lot of the stars we do have, or potential stars we do have, are guys who play non-premium positions. It's something we went over in depth last week if you guys are interested in that. But like the best players in this draft are a safety, a running back, and an off-ball linebacker, a few of whom we'll probably talk about today. But let's jump into it. Matt and I are both going to give you 3 guys we're going to talk about in a little bit more depth, and then we'll do our quick hitters at the end. Matt, you want to lead us off with your first My Guy?
Yeah, I will just start off by getting on my soapbox to defend my boy who has been getting way too much heat. We are starting off with this is one of the shinier ones, Reuben Vane Jr., the edge out of Miami. I was honestly very surprised pre-combine as he was sliding from almost guaranteed number 2 overall pick to closer to 5, then outside the top 5, and then obviously after the NFL Combine when arm measurement gate occurred. His arm measurements came in at or around the first percentile. And to that, I say Deadpool said it best. All of the other dinosaurs feared the T-Rex. Point to me where, in his tape, that the short arms have mattered. I actually went back and watched a bit of his tape from 2023 when he played against Clemson, where I'm blanking on who the left tackle was, but the right tackle was also still Blake Miller. I looked up the arm measurements for both. Both tackles had 34 and 35-inch arms. And what do you know? Ruben Bain had 2 sacks in that game. In the NFL, as a rusher, power reigns supreme. Speed, bendiness, it's great. You want them to have it. Like, the elite ones definitely have it because they have everything. Ruben Bain just so happens to be a power-first rusher who does have good, not elite burst, and bend. Honestly, most years outside of guys that go in the top 10 picks, you pick guys who either have one or the other. Ruben Bain's production has just spoken for itself. Prior to the college football playoff, he had 74 pressures this year, which was only second to David Bailey. He had 9.5 sacks. When you break it down to how many plays, he was involved in 11 sacks. So that can be a little bit misleading. And he also led college football with 60 hurries. I get that body types matter to a degree. And certainly there are moments where, yeah, like if he doesn't win initially, has a little bit more trouble getting off. But he's also winning all the time on tape. I'm going to trust the tape. I am going to trust the incredibly aggressive and physical player that is like running through tackles and has a variety of moves already. Like, I think we're overthinking this.
There's no doubt that he was an excellent college player. Like, and the tape shows that he's a great player. It's hard to like poke holes in what you're saying, except for, you know what I'm going to say. And we just had this conversation last week, so we don't have to rehash the whole thing. I sat here last year after the Patriots drafted Will Campbell and said, arm length doesn't matter. Watch the tape. He will be fine. And I'm not saying Will Campbell is not good. I'm not saying he's not going to be the left tackle of the future. I'm more weary on arm length this year after the playoffs than I was last year, where I was like, it doesn't matter at all. Who cares?
And I think you also have to factor in, like, that is also the longest that Will Campbell has ever played football for, too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and the injury, and he was coming back. He probably shouldn't have been playing. I understand all the excuses that Mike Vrabel and the coaching staff have made for the fact that he was fucking awful in the playoffs. And all I'm saying with Will Campbell is like, okay, show me next year. Then. Yeah. If it was the injury and it was all this stuff, then show me next year. But it still is a like question mark in my mind that is it all of these things we say about him, or is it the arms? Because coming in, everyone was worried about the arms, and then it ended up being a problem. And with Ruben Bain, I'm not saying he won't be a great player. I'm not saying this isn't a good pick by you. I just want to put out the caveat that we are not talking about short arms. We are talking about potentially the shortest arms of all time, depending on if you believe the measurements or not.
And like, I guess my point is, how Why does it matter how short the arm is of the hand that punches you?
Well, that's the thing, but is it going to be able to punch me? Because it's so
Like,
short.
but
That's the
like he's
problem.
done that over and over again against long arm tackles.
But college tackles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's he supposed to do? Like transfer to the NFL midseason?
Yes, obviously he should have played NFL. He should have put NFL football on tape for us. No, I mean, but
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's not going to be a good player.
Yeah.
I know you love him. I think it's a good pick. I think he will be a good player. I'm just weary of the fact that I said all of the exact same stuff about Will Campbell, where I'm like, you can't see it on the tape. He played in the SEC. It's the best conference. He played against the best edge rushers, the most athletic dudes. And we don't know if it mattered or not this year.
And I just feel like if it's an arm length thing too, then it doesn't just show up at the next level. I'm in a different place than you on Will Campbell because everybody knew Will Campbell had short arms. What, you think every team prior to like the Browns and the Raiders were like, yeah, let's not try to take advantage of that? Like, because before he got hurt, Max Crosby and Myles Garrett were the only ones who got him. You don't want that, but like, that's one where you're just kind of like, hey man, welcome to the league. That's why you need to get in the lab in the off season.
No, I know. I think I have PTSD from watching my franchise quarterback and the love of my life almost die. Because the playoffs were really, really rough. So it'll be interesting to see what happens next year for Will Campbell and at the next level for Ruben. I have smaller arms than Will Campbell Bane.
If those measurements are inaccurate, as many are suggesting, given that those measurements have been redone at pro days, and what do you know, those arms are actually longer at the pro days, then okay. Do we feel the same way if he like is just short of 32 inches, which would put him just under Aiden Hutchinson's length? Like, we're so trained to split hairs on this thing that is so minuscule. And it's like, I don't care if you have long arms. If you don't know how to use them, it doesn't matter anyways.
Yeah. You forgot to mention that Miami gave away complimentary tape measurers for the scouts at the pro day, and they all started at 5 inches. They're like, oh, you don't have your tape measure? Here, go measure Ruben Bain's arm with this. It starts with 5.
No, I don't think he got remeasured.
I know. No, I'm just kidding.
But like, it's a number of players across this class got remeasured at their pro days and somehow just had longer arms. So
all with Miami Hurricane themed tape.
There's some speculating that whoever was doing the measuring for some of these guys were unable to find the AC joint.
That's concerning.
Yep, but that's the NFL, baby.
Yeah. All right.
Who cares about confidence?
My first pick, every year I have like one guy who I'm like, of all the my guys, this is my guy. Like, this is the my-iest my guy that I have on my list. And in the past, it's been like JSN, and last year it was Nicky Manwari. And this year, it's Jacob Rodriguez, the linebacker out of Texas Tech. He is an absolute stat sheet stuffer.
Yeah.
Last year, 128 tackles, 11 for a loss. 4 interceptions, 6 deflections, 2 fumble recoveries, and 7 forced fumbles, which led the nation. The year before, 127 tackles, 10.5 for a loss, 5 sacks, 1 pick, 4 deflections, 2 fumble recoveries, and 3 forced fumbles. Since becoming a starting linebacker at Texas Tech, this man has been an absolute demon on the football field. He is everywhere. And he's kind of like my classic pick of the knock on him, and the reason he's probably going to be a day 2 pick. One is because he's a linebacker, but 2, he is undersized. linebacker. So he's in the 35th percentile for height and the 17th percentile for weight amongst linebackers. So he is small. However, he is hyper productive, like I mentioned, and also extremely athletic. He ran a 4.57 40. He was in the 91st percentile for vertical jumps and 84th percentile for 3-cone drills for linebackers. So the speed, the explosiveness you see on tape showed up in the testing. Not to mention, he also came into college at Virginia and played quarterback, running back, tight end, and wide receiver as a freshman at Virginia before transferring to Texas Tech and moving to linebacker of all positions. So he has this like really, really good understanding of like how to diagnose a play from his time playing quarterback.
Yeah.
And like if you're looking for weaknesses with him, it's the size. He gets knocked around in the box by size. He also gets a little bit overeager when he does think he diagnosed something correctly. Like when he's wrong, he can be very, very wrong. And he can over pursue. He can come in way too hot and fly past the play. The thing about Jacob Rodriguez, though, is as the stats in the tape will tell you, he's almost never wrong. Because he's everything you want in a middle linebacker, just like a little one, just a little guy. Because he is like I forget what the word I'm looking for is, but he is like the ultimate example of like leader on the football field, captain of your defense. Texas Tech had one of the best defenses in the nation this year. Got them to like, I think they were like 12-1 and went to the college football playoff, pretty much based on the strength of their defense. And I know that like David Bailey's going to get a lot of shine for that because he had the flashy sack numbers. But Jacob Rodriguez is like the heart, the soul, the brains, the feet, the hands. He is the spine, the everything for that defense this year. He was the guy that was like out calling the plays in the huddle, moving dudes around to the right positions, just like understands everything on a football field so well. That's why the stats are what they are. In 2025, he won the Bednarik Award, the Butkus Award, the Lombardi Award, and the Nagurski Award. You may notice that those are some of the names of the greatest defensive players to ever play football because those are the awards for best linebacker, best defensive player, best front seven guy, best like he won best everything and finished 5th in Heisman voting as
players
a linebacker.
From back when wearing a leather helmet made you a pussy.
Yeah. It's like my guy finished 5th in Heisman voting as a linebacker.
Yeah.
This year. You look at the other like defensive players who have finished that high in Heisman voting. It's like Ndamukong Suh, Brian Bosworth, Manti Te'o, like really good players. And this dude's going to fall down boards because he's small to play a linebacker. But I guarantee he is going to be good at the next level. He will find ways to impact football games at the next level.
I'm with you on the production. I'm with you on the athleticism. I think the way he diagnoses the run is very, very much pro ready. But because he is undersized, I think fit and roll is going to be crucial for him early on. What do you see him as in the NFL?
I almost want to say like a star safety type of player. Like, you know, like the role that like Jalen Petrie and Nicky Manwari play.
Yeah.
I almost think like that, like a box safety type of dude, almost more than a traditional middle linebacker. And part of the reason, one of my favorite quotes about him in his draft profile is he has the instincts, eyes, and ball skills of a greedy safety in coverage. Like he can cover. I think like you might just have to get him out of the traditional front seven a little bit, if that makes sense.
The way I see him is like early way on the field is probably like nickel and dime linebacker. Because of that coverage ability. But if he's in base, I kind of see him more as a Will. I know he has the football IQ mentally do what needs to be done at Mike, but as a Mike backer, I think that size and difficulty getting off of blocks is actually kind of taking away from one of his strengths, which is that speed and athleticism, the ability to read the run and just run and tackle. If he could play Will behind a defensive line that soaks up blocks, I think you could be looking at a guy who is racking up 100-pound tackles as a rookie.
I think he's smart enough and like understands football well enough to play wherever you need him to play in your defense. The other quote I had from him that I love is field command and performance inspires those around him. Like he just is that he just has everything you want from a linebacker, except he's small. It's like we've just seen this in the NFL. The NFL, like as the NFL becomes more about like let's play in space, let's play with speed, let's play with like quickness and all that stuff. Size, you don't need to be a massive dude to play linebacker. Like yes, he's undersized, but there are roles for him in the NFL if you are smart enough to put him in one. It's the classic, like, tell me what he can do and I'll put him in a position to succeed. Don't tell me what he can't do. If he goes somewhere and they're like, you're our middle linebacker, congratulations, he might not be as... I don't think he's going to fail no matter what.
Certainly stunts his growth a little. You definitely want him to be in position to make plays, and I think that Will spot in a base defense frees him up to be the playmaker that he is, because I think that's his superpower, is like always being at the ball, creating turnovers, whether it's fumbles, interceptions, whatever. You want him to be able to run free with his hair on fire to get to the ball and not have to go through blocks to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, his film is super fun to watch because he's just absolutely everywhere. He's everywhere. But let's go to your next guy. Who's my guy number 2 for you?
My next one is safety from TCU, Bud Clark. I could take the long route on this one, but I'll sum it up pretty quickly here. His profile is basically a carbon copy of Kirby Joseph coming out. Absolute ball hawk, has man coverage skills, bad tackler but willing tackler. That is rookie Kirby Joseph to a T. So he is a little bit older, which is probably one thing that is going to turn off some people from him. Youth is definitely like a real sticking point for some people, but he's still 24. Like, I don't think that at safety precludes him from being a guy that you may be looking at as a second contract guy. But over the last 4 years, he has accumulated 15 interceptions and 21 pass breakups. Like, as a free safety, because that is what he is. You want him in single high, surveying the field, figuring out where that ball's going to go, and making a break for it. He is out there to take the ball away. You just can't fake the production over that period of time. I know some people got tricked by Emmanuel Forbes that one year he came out, where every single one of his interceptions was just the flukiest shit ever. Like, this is not that. This guy is making actual football plays and taking the ball away. And some of the tackling issues, like he's not the biggest guy, sure, that could maybe help if he bulked up a little, but a lot of it is being over aggressive and tackling technique, which it can all and almost certainly will be coached up in the NFL. It is not a lack of desire to hit. I mean, the carbon copy of him in the NFL prior to the weird situation with his knee, not that long ago, got a top of the market safety deal. If you can get a guy like him in the 3rd or 4th round in this draft, you do that. Like,
yeah, his similarity scores show Kirby Joseph and Javon Holland,
yeah,
who was a my guy at one point as well. And it is like, it's a little bit like Javon Hollandy because he's like more of a coverage safety than
yeah,
a hitter, especially because he is a bit small. He's in the 9th percentile for weight for safeties, but like I don't feel like that's as important when you're like a deep free safety because you're not
no,
as worried about like being in run support, stuff like that, as you are making plays on the ball. And good God, this man makes plays on the ball.
yeah,
Like you said, 15 interceptions in 4 years. He was on TCU during their playoff run where they went to the finals
yep,
and got boat raced by Georgia. But in the Fiesta Bowl game against Michigan, he had a pick 6 and a
yep,
fumble recovery. Like, so played
yeah,
huge in
yeah,
huge spots
mm-hmm.
as well.
And I mean, really good athlete, 4'4", 140, 156, 10-yard split, which if you are comparing that to like where that is amongst what we're seeing from the guys that are running today, it almost might look mediocre for like the guys that are coming out now. But I think it's really important to note that like the guys that aren't going to run well just aren't testing anymore. So
Yeah. Well, his 40 time was in the 93rd percentile for safeties.
Yeah.
So pretty good. I'm doing everything in
Yeah.
percentiles this year so people can understand comparatively, like, is that good? Is that
Yeah,
not?
yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
I feel like a lot of times it's like
yeah,
he ran a 4.7 and I'm like, is that good?
yeah. No, I'm saying compared to like the times that you're seeing within the current class, that can skew it when like half of the guys that are going to the combine aren't testing anymore because they don't want to take a chance of ruining it. Also, 38-inch vertical and a 10-7 broad jump. So, really good athlete. I do feel like he tested a little bit better than the explosiveness that he shows on tape, but like obviously he is getting to the ball all the time. So that just is probably a me thing.
Yeah. 68.1 quarterback rating when targeted.
Yeah.
Last year. Pretty
like,
good.
Don't throw his way.
My guy is Indiana wide receiver Omar Cooper Jr. So now is when we're going to start getting weird with it because he is a bit of a weird prospect, and we'll talk about why. But I'm saying give me all the Indiana guys in this draft. There are numerous skill position players from Indiana where like so Omar Cooper Jr., Elijah Surratt, they have 2 running backs who are going to go in this draft. I'm like, give me all of these dudes. We talked about it with Fernando Mendoza last week that like it's not really big fish, small pond theory because I think that's underselling just how good of a program Indiana is right now, where they, just became the first 16-0 team in the history of college football. And I think that they're just like legitimately a really fucking good college football program.
Yeah.
So this is equivalent to me of like the years of Alabama and Georgia and like just having all of these dudes come out who just dominated college football for a whole season. I want all of them. Just give all of them to me. But my favorite of the group is Omar Cooper Jr. Quarterback rating when targeted last year of 139. He had over 1,000 total yards and 14 touchdowns. So the production is there. He's a bit of a weird prospect, though, because his superpower is yards after the catch.
Yeah.
He forced a missed tackle on 39% of his touches last season, which leads the class for wide receivers. The word that I really enjoyed, there was a YouTube video about him where they said that he had Gumby-like moves after the catch. Because the way that this dude's like joints bend to like break tackles and get out of tackles and gain extra yards is like, I've never seen anything like it in my life. This is my favorite tape. Like I said, I really like Jacob Rodriguez's tape. It was fun. This is like, I don't know if we've like seen a whole lot of guys like this at the college level with his ability to like not only break tackles, but avoid them in these really, really weird ways. There's this one play against Oregon where he runs like a 5-yard out, catches the ball with one hand, and gets hit from behind by Dylan Thieneman, who's going to be one of the top safeties in this class.
Yeah.
And his whole body like bends forward, but somehow he still keeps his balance and like slips past it and gains a first down. He like runs over another dude to gain a first down. But the thing that's like weird about him is that a massive amount of his yards and his routes were like RPOs, bubble screens, like other screen passes, lots of stuff like at or just beyond the line of scrimmage. He's really good in like the intermediate area as well. But there are some questions about like the game that he played in college. Will that translate to the next level? Because Indiana was very much just like, let's get him the ball close to the line of scrimmage and let him like use his yak ability to gain yards. The reason that he's on the My Guys list is I think that there's a lot more there. I think Indiana used him in a very specific way because that's Indiana's offense. Like this is the concern with Fernando Mendoza as well, is that Indiana's offense is like a lot of RPOs, like predominantly RPOs. That like his skill set,
taking snaps under center is going to be a new thing for Mendoza.
Yeah, but like that, his skill set fits really well into what Indiana wanted to do.
Yeah.
So that's how they used him the majority of the time. I don't think that means that he can't be more of a deep threat at the next level. He ran a 4.4 240 and had a 37-inch vert. So the explosiveness is there. His route running and his route technique needs work for deeper routes, especially things like comebacks and flies and stuff where you have to break off the top of the route is like something he really needs to work on, which is really unlike me to pick someone like that because I love the like technicians. But
it's understandable for someone who was playing at an offense where it's either we're throwing you a screen or win quick. Like those are very different. It's very different footwork that you need to work on. So if you're running those routes less often, then you're not working on them as much.
Yeah, but there are like, that's the thing is like he just doesn't have that many opportunities at Indiana to run the type of routes that are like concerning people. But when he did, he was successful at it. He had the game-winning touchdown against Penn State in the red zone as well, like probably the biggest play of Indiana's season to make sure they go undefeated, was like that last second touchdown that Mendoza threw. That was to Omar Cooper Jr. where he gets the toe tap in the back. Like absolutely ridiculous toe tap. And that's part of like the Gumby-like stuff that I said is like, a lot of guys don't have the body control that he has. And like, if you bent at the joints the way that he bends, you would probably snap a lot of shit.
The core strength is just insane.
Yeah. he's very unique. I would encourage you to go watch him on YouTube. It's reminiscent of like Deebo Samuel in the 49ers offense, where like he wasn't running a lot of like fades and flies and post and stuff like that. It was a lot of like how like he is a playmaker. How do we get him the ball in space? And with Deebo, they're like, we're gonna have you run it a lot, and we're gonna throw you screens and slants and digs and like all of these things. And Deebo Samuel very much became a non-traditional wide receiver one.
Yeah.
For a couple of years though. Like he was the best player on the 49ers for a couple of years. Omar Cooper Jr. is like more in that mold where like he can be like your motion guy, run your gadget plays, screens, bubbles, all of those things. But the athletic profile shows me that he's capable of more. Is he going to be like the Jamar Chase type of guy? Absolutely not. But I think he can be very productive at the next level. Like, almost like if the 49ers draft him and just throw him into that Deebo role they used to have, I think that's like absolutely perfect for him. But you can get really creative with this guy at the next level. It's like, it's very similar to what we talked about with Jacob Rodriguez. And this is kind of my theme for this year is like, just, you have guys who have skills.
Yeah.
Like, put them in positions to succeed. They can do it. It just have to go to the right places.
Definitely another guy where like fit is going to be really important. Like you said, if you set him up to utilize that skill set, he's got the tools to make that be productive.
Yeah. I think a really good comparison for him at the pro level is Khalil Shakir, the wide receiver for the Buffalo Bills, who's like a slot guy who broke the second most tackles of any wide receiver in the NFL last season. Like, because Omar Cooper Jr. makes a lot of people miss and breaks a lot of tackles after the catch. So like, I mean, I think his floor is like slot, tough yards, move the chains type of guy, and that there's a lot more under the surface there. But who is in-depth guy number 3 for you?
Yeah, so my last one is Utah offensive tackle Spencer Fano. Another guy that there has been talk about arm length for.
I was gonna say, you just don't give a damn about the arms this year.
I don't. And part of that is because this dude's movement skills are like special. He is a very, very good athlete testing wise. I mean, we can go through it, but I feel like that's not really the most important thing with him. For me, it's that ability to mirror the rushers that he is blocking is kind of why I don't care about the arm length for him, because if he's in position and he gets his hands on you, like it's kind of over at that point. Like, he's just such a good athlete that he's almost certainly going to be able to get his hands on you, and you've got to go through him at that point essentially. And like, he's a good enough tackle that like that's easier said than done.
I like this line from his draft profile. It says he moves like a tight end trapped in a tackle's body. Like, to show you kind of like the athleticism and the like fluid movement skills that he has. It's also funny, his like similarity score, his highest similarity score is Paris Johnson, the left tackle for the Arizona Cardinals, and he is very likely going to be drafted by the Arizona Cardinals, and the Cards are like, yeah, we'll just have 2 of them. We'll just like 2 of the same guy at left and right tackle. We're totally cool with that.
Another comp I've seen for him is Brian O'Neill. But Adam, would you feel comfortable having Brian O'Neill as your starting right tackle? Like,
I'm not comfortable with anyone whose arms can't reach the. I'm sick of these arms in my tackles, Matt. No, I'm just kidding. Yes, I'd be happy to have Brian O'Neill as my right tackle.
So, I mean, like, and again, like, arm length gate. So, it's very possible that his arms are closer to 33 inches, and then suddenly nobody cares, and it's
there's some team like down the draft board who really wants these guys, who just tanked all their stock by saying their arms are tiny. Just wait, we'll see who drafts Fenno and your other boy Ruben Bain, and we'll know.
Also, like, for all the people that are like down on Fenno and Bain because of their arm length, I swear to God, if you have Cassius Howell as a first round pick, like, get the fuck out of here. Because his arms are shorter than Bain's.
Cassius Howell is like a worst case scenario where it's like the tiny arms, and also he's not as good at football as Ruben Bain Jr.
And can't stop the run, which Ruben Bain is exceptional at.
Just can't do much.
Yeah. No, I think Spencer Fenno is a plug and play right tackle. You know, I think there's upside there with his athleticism to potentially be like a plus caliber starting tackle, but like I really think that at his baseline, like, he is a guy that you can start day one and is going to give you quality reps to start the season, and keep your offense on track. And I think that's everyone wants elite players, right? But like, if we can get competent play, like that is where we need to start. So, and that's a hard position to play.
Yeah, I think like this is like the biggest lock outside of Fernando Mendoza going to the Raiders, is that he is going to be an Arizona Cardinal. It just seems like a thing that is going to happen. My third guy, now I'm getting like really weird with it, very non-traditional for me. So we'll see how this works out for me, because I said at the beginning of the pod, like, there weren't a ton of dudes I was like super stoked on. Like, usually I have a list of guys coming into my guy season where I'm like, okay, I got 20 guys and I'm going to pick 6 of them. And I was trying to like kind of find some more guys, and I was watching tape and breakdowns, and one guy I came across is Arkansas running back Mike Washington Jr. And this is a man I do not fully understand. I've picked guys like this before. I picked Tariq Woolen years ago because I was like, listen, this dude's an absolute freak of nature. And there's like more under the surface with him. And then like I picked Trey McBride a couple years ago too, because I was like, this dude like was so productive in the worst situation in college football, and I love him. And Mike Washington is kind of like a combination of those two picks for me.
Yeah.
Because he was productive last year. He had 1,300 total yards, 9 touchdowns, while being on 2-10 Arkansas. And granted, Arkansas had 446 yards per game last season and was like one of the top 15 offenses in the country. But I think in large part it is due to my guy here. And I look at his athleticism, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, and look at his production and just wonder, like, if he wasn't on one of the shittiest teams in power conference football, like, could he have just been an absolute monster last season? Because that is what this man is as far as testing numbers are concerned. He is 6'1", 223 pounds, and ran a 4.33 40, which was the fastest running back 40 since 2024. It wasn't that long ago, but just like, think about last year, we had one of like the best running back classes that we had ever seen. He was faster than all of those guys. Jeanty, Hampton, Judkins, Travion Henderson. Faster than all of those dudes. 93rd percentile vertical jump, 95 percentile broad jump, 90% 10-yard split, 96% arm length, 99 percentile wingspan. This man is a monster. He is built like a monster, and he is explosive as hell. But then, like, the really weird thing about him is that he was in the 37th percentile for shuttle, and for as big and strong as this guy should be, he only put up 17 bench reps, which is in the 30th percentile for running backs. And that shows on tape because he has ball security issues and he's not good in pass pro. And those two things are really going to limit him as a rookie. So, like, I think that this is a pick that will probably take a couple years to pay off. But I think it will pay off because, like, the size and athleticism profile of this guy, it's so unique. It's like, my pro comp for him is faster Brian Robinson. Faster and more athletic B-Rob, because they're the same size almost exactly. B-Rob was like 6'1", 225, and Mike Washington 6'1", 223. And B-Rob ran a 4.53 as opposed to a 4.33 for Mike Washington. So, like, it's weird because in tight confined spaces, which you will see a lot of in the NFL, he's not super shifty. He's not like super elusive. He's not going to be an ankle breaker with that speed. But what he is like a massive home run threat where anytime he touches the ball, he can absolutely be gone. And also, like, it's weird because he's not good in pass pro because he's not super strong, but also just like is a extremely punishing runner. Like, putting his head and his shoulder down and just, like, you know, he is not waiting for contact. He is the contact. Like, to quote Breaking Bad, he is the one who knocks when he's carrying the ball. He is running over linebackers and safeties and just demolishing corners. I don't know. I'm interested to hear what you think about him, because I just think, like, the combination of all the things I just talked about is, like, really fascinating to me. And I wonder if he had played somewhere with a better offensive line, if we would just be like, this guy just had 2,000 yards and 20 touchdowns. We need to draft him in the first round.
Yeah. So RAS 988.
Yeah.
That is good. I was looking at his testing and just his size profile. A name popped into my head that you didn't bring up. And I knew there were some differences there, but very similar to Nick Chubb. A lot of the speed and explosion work, those are very similar numbers, with him being obviously just faster than Nick Chubb timed. But he tested a little bit better in the agility stuff, and obviously did not put up as many bench reps as Nick Chubb did. But other than that, like, most of their testing is pretty close. He's one of those guys where, like, the production is there. The athleticism is there. Like, I think he's got, for a guy that's 220 plus, I really like his lateral agility. That is not something that you necessarily see out of guys that size. And if they do try to utilize that, they're usually not very good at it and end up wasting yardage that they could have gotten just by trying to go through guys. Another thing that a critique of him that I will offer that I don't think you mentioned is uh I don't see much of him in the pass game as a receiver either. Um it's not the end all be all. It's just you know, that the way the NFL game has been going for the last 15 years now, like that is definitely something that most teams want out of their running back, but um I have a hard
Yeah,
time seeing teams pass up uh the opportunity to see if this kind of athleticism can turn into big explosive runs.
Yeah, he had 28 catches last year at Arkansas, which like not a ton, but he can like catch swings and like screens and stuff out of the
Yeah.
backfield. I don't think he's going to be like a, running routes type of running
No.
back, but like he can do some of that. It's like really weird because he didn't have a ton of touches last year either. He averaged 6.4 yards per carry, 8.1 yards per reception on his way
Yeah.
to 1,300 yards. So he's very, very explosive. And
Yeah.
like you said, I don't know, man. I look at Jeremiah Love is like far and away the number one running back in this class and like one of the better ones we've had in some time. But then the rest of the running back class is like pretty underwhelming. And a lot of people have like Jonah Coleman, Jadarian Price, like Emmett Johnson, some of these guys above him. I'm like, I would take a swing on the upside here if we're talking, day 2, day 3, like somewhere between like the 3rd and 5th round where some of these running backs are going to go. I wouldn't draft like a Jadarian Price in the 2nd round. I'd rather take a swing on the upside here, like a round or 2 later. So let's do quick hitters. We'll just go back and forth. Who's your first one?
I really hope I've gotten the name right on this because I know his full name is something that I will not ever be able to say. But this is Penn State guard Vega Yone. Last week we kind of touched on like, are there blue chips in this class? How many are there? Today I decided to kind of just go through and see how many and who mine are. I came away with 5 guys that I feel like are blue chips, and he is one of them. This is not a plug and play offensive guard. This is a plug and play, and he is potentially going to be one of the 10 best guards in the NFL kind of guy. I wouldn't recommend using him for like a wide zone scheme, but you put him in like a gap or a power scheme, and he is going to crush people. And he's already a high level pass protector. Probably the best guard we've seen come out since Quentin Nelson.
I'm also going to go with someone who's a blue chip prospect. For my first quick hitter, you've had a couple at the top of the board already, and I'm going to pick another one who's right up there. Sonny Styles, the linebacker from Ohio State. First of all, great name. Great name for an NFL linebacker, Sonny Styles. Per Math Bomb, the RAS guy, he is the 4th most athletic linebacker in the history of the NFL Combine. Like, ever. We're talking about guys like Luke Kuechly, Von Miller that are like up there with him. He is very reminiscent to me of Jack Campbell, the linebacker for the Lions, who was my guy a couple years ago as well. This dude started as a safety, moved to linebacker, and has all of those coverage skills. Plus, he is just this like sideline to sideline force of. This is all the stuff I liked about Jack Campbell is I'm like, he's sideline to sideline. He's not going to be in the backfield a ton, but he's going to make plays like from the line of scrimmage all the way back because he can cover tight ends like nobody's business. Like, he is going to be the preeminent tight end coverage guy in the NFL within a couple of years of being drafted. I truly believe that.
Yeah. He might be our next Fred Warner. Or, God forbid, a souped up Luke Kuechly.
Yeah.
Which is
like
not something I want to think about.
100th percentile vert and broad and 97th percentile 40 time.
Yeah.
Like, this guy is athletic as hell.
Yeah, we
and he has the numbers to back it up. Like, his stats in college back it up. He was awesome for Ohio State last year.
We touched on it last week, but it is insane to me that anyone would consider drafting him before or him after Arvell Reese. Like,
yeah,
Arvell Reese should not be going before him in a draft.
I hit Ruben Payne's arm length twice in 2 weeks because I'm just preemptively shitting on anybody the Jets could potentially draft. But if they draft Styles or I think the next guy that you're going to talk about, I'm just going to be like, God damn it. Yeah, that was a good pick. So do your guy, because you have another top of the board guy who I'm afraid the Jets may take.
Another one of my 5 blue chips, Caleb Downs. Incredible safety prospect out of Ohio State. Just we touched on a little bit last week as well. Truly a do-it-all safety. He can play single high. He can play down in the box. He can cover in the slot. Like, just truly a chess piece. I think he's a clearly better prospect than Kyle Hamilton was coming out. I know that people get really enamored with Hamilton's size and how well he moved for a guy that size, but Kyle Hamilton has to play the way that the Ravens use him to be a safety. Whereas Caleb Downs can literally play like every role that you want a safety to play.
Yeah. We talked about him a bit last week too, where he is one of the best safety prospects we've ever seen, just in terms of like being able to play safety. And he's worth a top 10 pick. I would say he's up there with like the Sean Taylors and the Eric Berrys of the world for sure. He is 100% on that level. My next guy, not a blue chip prospect, and honestly, pretty good chance that he is not really a great NFL player. Zachariah Branch, the wide receiver from Georgia. So he is undersized to play a receiver. He is 5'9", 177 pounds, which are in the 7th and 5th percentiles respectively. But another dude who is just athletic as fuck.
Yeah.
Like 4.35 40, 1.5 10-yard split, 80% vert, 76% broad, and 90th percentile for wide receivers in benching. At 5'9", 177, he was in the 90th percentile for the bench press for wide receivers. He also set the Georgia record for most catches in a season last year, kind of quietly. Like, he had 81 catches, which is more than AJ Green or Brock Bowers ever had at Georgia. More than anyone that Matt Stafford ever threw the ball to at Georgia. But the super weird thing about him is like kind of similar to Omar Cooper Jr., but like even to a more extreme extent. I think it was something like 44% of his yards of his career came on passes that were at or behind the line of scrimmage. He was like the preeminent, we're just going to give you the ball and see if you can make something of it type of guy in Georgia's offense last year. And that's kind of why he had so many catches. He is also an incredible return guy, punt and kick returns.
Yeah.
And with the new kick return rules in the NFL, like, I think he has a really safe floor as a returner and kind of like a gadget guy in an offense. But I put him on my guys list because, and I know that this is basically blasphemous to say this, I think there's a non-zero chance that he can be like 80% Tyreek Hill. And like you just look at like the size, the testing, the strength, like there's a non-zero chance that he turns into this just like super explosive weapon that you run these really weird routes with, and you're like just like put him out there and he's terrifying. He tilts the field at the next level. Who's your last guy?
My last guy is also a wide receiver. Actually, I'm going to mention this before we move on because thinking about Branch through my Lions tinted glasses, he kind of reminds me of like this weird combination of Khalif Raymond and Greg Dortch. He's got that like yak ability that Greg Dortch is actually really, really good at. Obviously both those guys pretty undersized, just like he is. But much like him, Khalif Raymond is like really strong for how small he is. Truly like kind of like that Mighty Mouse build.
Yeah, we're going back to small boy season.
Yeah.
With Zachariah Branch. Go small boy.
Back to the wide receiver. Well, I am picking wide receiver KC Concepcion. Man, like
NCAA 25 legend.
Yes.
He's like the best player in NCAA 25, which was not this year's game. Just throw that out there.
Yeah. He is just straight up a big play waiting to happen. The big knock on him is
he played at Texas Tech.
That
or
too.
Texas A&M.
Yeah. The big knock on him is drops, which I do get. It's not something that you want to see. To me, they were all hands, like they're mostly hands drops. They weren't like him trying to catch the ball with his body. I think that's more correctable. You can work on technique with that. But this dude's after the catchability is awesome. Like, with what I see from him and his ability to kind of work in space and break tackles and just keep fighting downfield, like he's kind of brute forced his way into like my tier 2 of receivers, to where I'm like, after like Tate and Lemon, I'm like, is there anyone that I really like more? Maybe Brazel, but like that it's a very short list of guys after those two that I think are like clearly better prospects. He just has this natural playmaking ability, and then you many have heard about his situation at the combine. So he does have a speech impediment, and he took the opportunity at the combine to like do a public interview and like try to be a positive influence for other people who do struggle with that. And I mean, to me, that's a massive sign of, leadership qualities and being a potentially really positive influence in a locker room. Like, you talk about a guy that is a big play threat and is going to be a huge W in the locker room, like, sign me up for that.
Fair. My last guy, Homer. This Homer pick alert. The siren
Yeah.
should be going off. Nadame Tucker, edge from the Western Michigan University, Matt and my alma mater. He's a high ranked Western guy, so you knew he was going to be here. I can't not have him on the my guys list. However, like, this is more of the classic big fish small pond theory for me, where Western has not been good at football for a while now, since PJ Fleck left. We had to survive the Tim Lester era. We hired Lance Taylor a couple years ago, and Lance Taylor like really turned the program around to where we just had the best season in school history, where we won the MAC, and then we went on and absolutely eviscerated my mom's alma mater, Kennesaw State, in a bowl game. And it was primarily due to their defense. Western Michigan had an elite MAC defense, which isn't saying a lot for the rest of the NCAA, but for us as Western fans who has never once had a good defense in the history of Western Michigan football, even the year we went undefeated and went to the Cotton Bowl and played Wisconsin, the defense still was like not that good. The offense was, with Corey Davis and those guys, was awesome. This was the best defense we ever had. And it was led by a dude who, what did he end up with? 14 and a half sacks?
Around there, yeah.
Also, their first game of the season was against Michigan State. And the tackle he was going up against ended up being a Big Ten all-first team left tackle. And he had 3 sacks in that game.
Yeah.
And dominated that guy. Tucker is like another dude who is like a smaller, weaker edge rusher, but the technique is like his first step and his technique is just like, oh, chef's kiss. And he needs to work on some counter moves. There's some stuff he needs to learn at the next level. He may take a couple of years to develop, but like this dude has a role in the NFL as a pass rusher. Like, to be that crisp and that clean with the limited amount of reps that he has, because he wasn't always an edge. He like moved there. And this is like kind of the same thing I said with like Tariq Woolen a couple of years ago. Is I was like, he's a freak athlete. He's only played corner for 2 years and he's already this good at it. Like, Tucker is very much like that, where it's like he is so technically excellent for the limited amount of time that he's played the position that I'm like, there's a lot of potential there. This dude knows how to be an edge. And I think that he can figure that out, at least as like a situational rusher at the next level, with some upside as he learns.
Yeah. I mean, the thing that's gonna hurt him the most come draft night is his age. He is like, I want to say he's like, what, 25, something like that, or will be 25 by the season. So with that being the case, like, he might be a 7th round pick, but I would
love to have him in the 7th round.
Just knowing the NFL and how GMs view things, his athletic testing wasn't particularly great. So like the undersized thing is probably going to hurt him in combination with his age. But like, there is 0 chance that if he goes undrafted, that 32 teams are going to look at his production and be like, no, we don't want to take a chance on that.
Yeah.
He's gonna be in a training camp and he's gonna have a chance.
14 and a half sacks and 21 tackles for a loss.
Yeah.
Last season.
I just,
both of those things. Those are 2 separate numbers.
I just would not be surprised if he makes a roster just out of sheer determination. just working the hardest in training camp to perfect his craft, and he's gonna have his limitations, but like I I've got to imagine that he's gonna get a chance to shoot a shot.
Yep. Should I do my honorable mention before we sign off?
I also had one, so I'll let you.
Oh, so my honorable mention for this, I can't put this guy on the my guys list because I just don't foresee a future where he is a viable NFL player like whatsoever. But god damn it, I love Diego Pavia, the quarterback for Vanderbilt. Just like he's tiny. He's smaller than Kyler Murray. But just like the attitude, the swag that he plays with, and for him to like go to Vanderbilt and have the best 2 years that Vanderbilt football has ever had and be a Heisman finalist, and just oh man, and like for him to he loses the Heisman and he's like, those guys don't know what they're talking about, they're clowns. And he had to come out and apologize for it later. I was like, don't apologize, Diego. Just be Diego Pavia. I like Diego Pavia. I want him to be successful, but he is too small. We're not talking about small boy season. We're talking about like literally too small to play quarterback at an NFL level, especially the style that he plays, where he is like looking for contact. He will die. However, if he like goes to Canada or the USFL or like any of these other or XFL or whatever leagues exist nowadays, I think he could be the best player in any professional sports or any professional football league that is not the NFL. Like, I think he could be the best player in Canada and be an MVP. I think he could be like the best player in the XFL, and that like those types of leagues need to recruit him to come there because he will add viewers to those leagues because he just like is like a WWE character, He's like tiny, but he's Mighty Mouse on the field, but then also he's like a bad guy off the field. He's like kind of a jackass. He's not afraid to speak his mind, and I love him. I just don't see a world where he becomes like even a viable NFL backup due to the size. This is like there's a limit. It's too small, right?
Yeah, it's like size is like honestly one of the biggest detracting points for the argument of like Ty Simpson potentially being the number one quarterback in this class, right?
Because like
you need to be big enough to actually absorb the hits. Like,
yeah, if Diego was just like a couple inches taller, I would make the case for like he'll put on weight at the next level and be a backup quarterback, but just it's not happening for my guy. So
no, and I don't think he has the temperament to be a backup. So.
No, but he would be. How great would he be as like the Saskatchewan Roughriders starting quarterback?
Oh, absolutely.
Like you would totally watch that shit when it's not NFL season, right?
Yes.
Like that'd be awesome.
100%.
Nathan Rourke was like the greatest quarterback in the history of Canadian football last year. He had like 5,000 yards and 40 touchdowns. Like Diego Pavia could go up there and make some noise. But who is your honorable mention?
So my honorable mention, for similar reasons to yours, is Indiana quarterback D'Angelo Ponds.
Indiana cornerback.
Cornerback.
It almost sounded like quarterback. I was like,
I've spent a good portion of this this podcast not caring about physical measurements, but there is a limit. So I to his credit, D'Angelo Ponds actually athletically tested very well at his pro day. I think ran like a 4.3. I know he had a like 43.5-inch vertical at the combine. Very good athlete. The problem is my man is 5'9", 182 pounds, with 29 3/8-inch arms. There is pretty much no profile in the NFL to go off of a cornerback being successful in the NFL with those measurements, which is distressing because Adam, I once upon a time remember you falling in love with one Javonte Williams because all he does is wake up and choose violence. And that is the complete and total summary of D'Angelo Pons. Like, like that, like this man is so aggressive playing corner and is so fun to watch. It like with someone playing that aggressively, like instinctually, I'm like, no, I shouldn't bet against them. But I just NFL wide receivers are going to dunk on him. Like that is just going to be the case.
I probably should have mentioned at the beginning of the pod that Javonte Williams was my guy once upon a time, and I never sold the stock. Always had it, and it finally paid off this year. And I was like, "Yes, my guy." And
there
also
are
on a side
in
note,
Denver, but
there's
the
knee injuries.
Kinda...
Yeah. On a side note, if either of our honorable mentions become successful NFL players, we are absolutely going to claim them on the My Guys All-Star team. But that is it for us. As always, Foul Out can be found on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Cast, Overcast, anywhere you get your podcast. You can hit us up on Gmail, fouledoutsports@gmail.com, and you can go watch the podcast on YouTube. Search for Fouled Out Sports. Give us a like and subscribe over there to help us grow the channel. Appreciate you guys. We're going to throw you guys a bit of a curveball the next couple of weeks. So typically we save our first round mock for the week of the draft, but we're going to do the first round mock next week. And then we will do the DraftKings top 10 podcast, all the gambling odd stuff the week of the draft. So join us next week for our first round mock where Matt and I will go back and forth and make the first 32 picks of the NFL draft. But for now, we will see you guys next week. So, bye, guys.
Yep. Bye, guys. Bye, Robin.
Bye, Mom. Bye, Dad.